2012 was the year that, according to the Mayan calendar, the world was supposed to end, but it came and went with nary an apocalyptic event in sight, unfortunately. What we did get, however, were loads and loads of fantastic video games, and so we're back again to tell you all about the absolute finest. Before we get into it, we must go over the rules. A game can qualify for one of these best of X year lists if it was released in the 12-month period in question in at least one territory and received a minimum of 7 professional reviews. We don't include ports, collections, or re-releases in our rankings as we'll cover those games in the year that they were first released, but we do count remasters and remakes as they're different enough from the original games to warrant inclusion. With all of that nice and clear, let's get into it. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and here are the 10 best games of 2012. Number 10. Okami HD, 90.29%. We're kicking off today's list with a remaster of a title that appeared on our Best of 2006 list and one that, for reasons unknown, often gets overlooked when people talk about the greatest video games of all time. Naturally, Okami HD shares its story with the original Okami and tells the tale of Amaterasu, the Shinto sun goddess who takes on the form of a white wolf, and how she's able to save the land from darkness. The game is heavily inspired by Japanese mythology and folklore and draws its artwork from the Sumi-e style of ink wash painting. The gameplay combines action, platforming, and puzzle elements, but sets itself apart from other titles in the action-adventure genre through the use of the celestial brush mechanic, through which players can pause the game and draw on screen to help them fight enemies, solve puzzles, and overcome various obstacles. Okami HD received many of the same compliments as the original game, with numerous positive comments directed towards its stunning art style, engaging gameplay, and near-flawless pacing, whilst garnering additional praise for its 1080p visuals. Critics considered Okami HD to be the definitive edition of the game, as it left everything that was already great well alone whilst giving the graphics a bit of extra love and attention. Number 9. Borderlands 2, 91%. Borderlands? You haven't even seen the lands yet? How could you possibly be bored of them? You can tell we've done a lot of these videos because we're really scraping the barrel for jokes. Please have a word with the writer, thank you. In Borderlands 2, players take on the role of one of 4 Vault Hunters as they ally themselves with resistance group the Crimson Raiders in order to stop the megalomaniacal Handsome Jack from opening a vault on the planet Pandora and unleashing the power within. Like its predecessor, Borderlands 2 is a title of the first-person shooter variety and sees players traveling to all manner of locales around Pandora and shooting many of its residents in their stupid faces. There's also heavy emphasis on gathering loot, and the game's procedurally generated loot system means that players are highly unlikely ever to find the same gun, grenade, or class mod twice. Borderlands 2 was a big hit with critics who were fond of its unique art style, humorous writing, and the highly satisfying gunplay. Additionally, the cast of vibrant characters were widely lauded, particularly chief antagonist Handsome Jack, who is considered these days to be nothing short of one of the finest video game villains ever created. Number 8. Dishonored, 91%. Everybody shush now, because it's time to don those black hoods, sharpen those daggers, and get your sneak on. Developed by Arcane Studios and published by Bethesda, Dishonored focuses its attention on Corvo Atano, a bodyguard to the Empress of the Isle who is framed for her murder. Facing execution for a crime he did not commit, Corvo breaks out of prison and becomes an assassin hell-bent on seeking revenge against those who conspired against him. Unlike many stealth titles, Dishonored does not punish players for failing to stick to the shadows, but instead employs a chaos system that keeps track of how much violence and death the player engages in, with the level of chaos caused directly impacting the world. Upon its release, Dishonored enjoyed a fantastic response from critics, many of whom applauded the teams behind it for daring to offer gamers something other than the action-packed, brash military titles that were highly popular at the time. In addition, the gameplay was looked upon favourably for giving players plenty of choice when it came to their approach, and although the overarching story did attract some criticism, the standalone stories that drove each mission were well received. Suffice it to say that this title didn't dishonour itself. Number 7. Trials Evolution, 91.52%. Shockingly, there aren't any racing titles on today's best of list, so you're going to have to make do with Trials Evolution, which is arguably far more fun than any racer I can think of. Well, maybe except Mario Kart, but nothing's more fun than Mario Kart. The premise of Trials Evolution is somewhat simple. Players are put in control of a rider on a motorcycle and they must navigate each course as quickly as possible, overcoming obstacles as they go. The bike itself can only go backwards and forwards, and players are also able to control its pitch in order to make successful jumps and landings. As straightforward as its control scheme is, however, Trials Evolution is a tricky beast, with the courses getting progressively harder as the game goes on. One of the things that impressed critics about Trials Evolution was its overall appeal, as it had something for everyone. Simple controls for newbies, challenge for experienced gamers, and even a track editor for the creative types. The game also received praise for its visuals, multiplayer mode, and its replay value, and garnered perfect scores from 5 different publications. Not bad for a game that's not quite as fun as Mario Kart. Number 6. Xenoblade Chronicles, 92%. Although Xenoblade Chronicles was originally released in Japan in 2010 and then got European and Australian releases in 2011, the game didn't make its way to North America until 2012. It's not surprising, really. It is a very long way from Japan to North America, especially if you're going via Europe and Australia. Oh hey! Xenoblade Chronicles takes place upon the frozen bodies of 2 titans, each of which are home to different peoples, the humanoids and the race of machines. Naturally, these factions don't get along very well and so are perpetually at war. The game's protagonist is Shulk, a young man with the ability to wield the sword Monado, which is said to be key to the war efforts of the humanoid people. Exploration, combat, questing, and item collection form the foundations of this RPG's gameplay, with combat taking the form of a real-time action-based battle system in which the player moves the lead character while the rest of the party auto-attack. Despite garnering some criticism for the quality of its graphics, which were considered to be inferior to the offerings on other consoles, Xenoblade Chronicles was very well received. Praise was directed towards its innovative and enjoyable story, battle system, and its massive open world. Number 5. The Walking Dead, a Telltale Games series, 92%. Now, I know we said in the intro that we don't include collections in these rankings, and usually we don't, but in our defense, every episode of The Walking Dead was released in 2012, so we feel like this one gets a pass. Based on the comic book series of the same name, The Walking Dead tells a brand new story set within the post-apocalyptic world. Our protagonist is Lee, a university professor and convicted criminal who is on his way to prison for murder when all hell breaks loose. At the beginning of the game, he rescues a young girl named Clementine and becomes something of a father figure towards her as he attempts to reunite her with her parents. Unlike the vast majority of games of the time, The Walking Dead is a story-driven graphic adventure that places its emphasis on decision-making and character development. The Walking Dead received widespread critical acclaim and was lauded for its emotional, heart-rending story, deep, complex characters, and for the weight carried by each of the players' choices. By 2014, over 28 million episodes of the game had been sold, which was not only good news for Telltale, but also for tissue manufacturers the world over. I am still struggling to process the ending. Number 4. Journey, 92.56%. We've covered a great deal of unique games on these lists, but few are as distinctive as that game company's 2012 adventure, Journey, a title that is, sadly, in no way affiliated with the American rock band of the same name. In Journey, players take control of an unnamed robed figure who must travel across a vast desert in order to reach a mountain in the distance. The voyage is long and the environment is desolate, but as long as they don't stop believing, in themselves and work with the other individuals they meet along the way, players will overcome the obstacles in their path. The other folks the players come across during their travels are actually other players, and although they are unable to communicate by any means other than a tuneful chime, they must work together in order to progress. Upon its release, Journey enjoyed both critical and commercial success and was the fastest selling game on the PlayStation Store in North America and Europe at the time. Critics waxed lyrical about the title and lavished praise upon its beautiful art, atmospheric audio, and its ability to evoke emotion in the player without even saying a word. I can't believe we made it through that entry with only one Journey joke. Number 3. Mass Effect 3, 93%. You know what? I'm pleased to see Mass Effect 3 on this list, if only for the reason that it often gets dumped on by some fans of the series who allowed its subpar ending to taint their overall experience of the game. As the name would suggest, Mass Effect 3 is the 3rd title in the original Mass Effect trilogy and continues the story of Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2. In the conclusion to BioWare's epic space operas, players once again take on the role of Shepard, who is tasked with forging alliances between multiple species in order to overcome the threat of the Reapers, the synthetic organic alien starships that awaken every 50,000 years and destroy all intelligent life in the galaxy. Despite catching a fair bit of flack for its ending, which many fans felt didn't close off the trilogy in a satisfactory way, Mass Effect 3 garnered universal critical acclaim. The game's art direction, interesting characters, combat, soundtrack, and voice acting were all lauded by critics, and it went on to win a whole bunch of accolades, including a Spike Video Game Award for Best RPG and Game Informer's Game of the Year Award, as well as selling over 3.5 million copies in the month following its release. Number 2. Mark of the Ninja, 93.33%. I hope you've not put away those hoods and daggers from earlier, because we've got some more stealth for you now, only this one's of the 2D side-scroller variety. Released on the Xbox Live Arcade in September 2012 and on PC in October of the same year, Mark of the Ninja is set in the present day and follows the trials and tribulations of a nameless ninja as he seeks vengeance on those that attacked his dojo. The gameplay consists of stealth-based platforming levels in which the player must sneak through the environment, staying out of sight of any guards and performing sneaky assassinations. Between missions, players are able to spend their collected honor on upgrades which include passive buffs, distraction items such as smoke bombs, and attack items like caltrops. Mark of the Ninja was received well on both platforms, but the PC version slightly outperformed the Xbox 360 edition when it came to its average review score. Critics praised its visuals, atmosphere, and gameplay, as well as its fresh approach to the stealth genre. Okay, you can put away your rogue kit now, we're done with the stealthy stuff, I swear. Number 1. Persona 4 Golden, 94.16%. Now, before you start kicking off, I know we said in the intro that we don't include ports on this list. We've broken our rules several times today, I know. However, Persona 4 Golden is an expanded port of Persona 4 and comes with a ton of extra content, so we don't feel the least bit bad about including it, and also, personally, it's one of my favorite games of all time, so there. Persona 4 Golden is set in the fictional Japanese countryside and focuses on a player-named protagonist as they and their friends investigate a series of mysterious murders, all whilst trying to get to grips with their personas. The enhanced port plays in much the same way as the original and blends traditional RPG elements with social simulation ones. However, Golden introduces a new character, a number of new personas and outfits, additional voice lines and animated cutscenes, and a number of added story elements. Critics were blown away by Persona 4 Golden and heralded it as the absolute best way to experience the title. Naturally, they were impressed by the same things as the original, i.e. the gameplay, story, characters, and music, but lavished additional praise upon all of the new features as well. So congratulations to you, Persona 4 Golden, for being the very best video game of 2012. We'd offer you a gold medal, but since you yourself are already golden, I suppose we'll just go with a round of applause. Everyone should go and buy it now. It's on literally everything. Go on, I'll wait. No, I won't. Bye.